If you're ice fishing for panfish this year, you better be using these. Now, the Vexan T-Vex jig does not have an overly large wire hook by any means, but I can wholeheartedly say out of all the tungsten jigs I have fished, they by far use the strongest hook. Now, I've ran into many big bass countless times while targeting panfish, and there is no tungsten jig that I've successfully landed more big old bass on than the T-Vex jig. Now, you might be wondering, how is something this simple such a ticket bait? Now, the thing that I love about throwing a tungsten jig is all the different ways that you can rig it and the ways that it can be effective for your fishing. Right here, I have my 18-inch Vexan Ultralight. This is gonna be my sight fishing rod when I can just look in the hole and watch these fish eat my bait. What I've got rigged up, I'm not even sure if you guys can tell how micro this thing is a very, very tiny gold tungsten jig. What I'll do when these fish are being very finicky is just tip this little jig with a wax worm. Now, my thought process on this is probably the same as the fish's, and that is probably the easiest meal that they're gonna get all winter long. In my opinion, tipping a tungsten jig with a waxy is almost a guaranteed fish catching machine. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to tungsten jigs, I took this here T-Vex jig and I threw on a plastic. I really bulked up that profile, and this is for when those fish are being more aggressive or you're finding that they're not really committing to the smaller profiles that you're adding and you want to get something that's going to draw their attention from a further distance. Now, I typically rig up these bigger tungsten jigs on my 32-inch ultralight from Vexan. What I just love about this rod is that it's such a sensitive tip that's almost like having a spring bobber, but when you have to drive those hooks into these fish, they're gonna get caught by some backbone. Once you get a little further down that rod blank, you can see that backbone starts kicking in, but you have that sensitivity of almost having a spring bobber built into your rod. It is awesome.